Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Ceres in astrology. Now, Ceres in astrology had been previously seen as an asteroid, or classified as one, but now my understanding is it's a dwarf planet. And the thing about it is, Ceres in astrology is associated with nurturing. It could be a cultivation, um, laborious efforts. It could be, it's also associated with the stomach, with eating, the consumption of food. It's connected with employment dilemmas. It could also be it's pertaining also to diminished or depleted self-worth and how one may feel about themselves. And it's really sometimes, and also too, Ceres in astrology can be associated with abnormal eating habits, or I should say eating issues or disorders with eating. It can be something too. Ceres in astrology can also be associated with raising children, and it's also about what we eat. It can be also very controlling energy. Say if somebody has Ceres in Leo in their natal chart, it could be somebody that's not just very dominant, very controlling and domineering. You add that Leo energy to it, and that's something that could really be, very. It could be a person that might have very domineering, controlling nature, especially if there's other indicators in the chart that might reaffirm or reinforce that or confer that. Now, also, too, it can be associated with protective energy as well. So the thing about this is, I'll give you it, and also what I want to say, Ceres in astrology is also can be connected with taking someone through some kind of force or coercion against their will when they don't want to be taken. It can be which is basically, it's like kidnapping and abduction. These are things where Ceres is strongly associated with, but it's also connected with the family, and also connect, and really it's family connections, but it could also be associated with sorrow and dejection and disappointment. So it can carry some despondent and melancholy energy with it. And also clothing. Now, the thing about, and also another thing that, and when somebody has, like me, I have Ceres in my 12th house of restrictions in my natal chart, and I have very strong limitations on clothing. Let's say somebody has Ceres in Leo in their 12th house in their natal chart. There could be somebody that may have limitations on clothing due to extravagance, but just taking Ceres, let's say in Leo by itself, could be a person that might be very extravagant in terms of what they buy, and as far as they may be about it. They may spend extravagantly on clothes and also be interested in very flamboyant attire, and attire that might stand out readily. So, or a person with a Ceres in Aquarius might be into very eclectic, unorthodox type of outerwear. It might just be, could be whatever goes at the time, or just something that's very non-conforming. So anyway, but the thing about this is now, and also Ceres in astrology can also be associated with restoring with what one previously had. Now let's take an example. Let's say somebody has they have Ceres in the zodiac sign Cancer in their 4th house in their natal chart. That could be a person that might want to eradicate their family relationships in order to restore their emotional security, because of course Cancer is the sign associated with home and family. The 4th house is emotional security. Sadly, another example, let's say somebody has Ceres in Pisces, and let's say they have that in their 11th house in their natal chart. Could it indicate somebody that's willing to dissolve friendships in order to pursue their ideals, or some kind of Piscean goal or aspiration. It could be even betrayal of friends. Could it be just simply somebody that just not going to be loyal to them anymore in order so they could do something that's Pisces related in terms of their goals, their aspirations, their future, or what have you. So those are some examples as how that could manifest. Now, the thing about this is, like mine, an example, I have in my chart, I have Ceres in Aries in my natal chart. So that could be indicative of me, the fact that, I mean, since Ceres is associated with nurturing, caring, that I may show that I care for others by standing up for them, maybe even getting into, physical confrontation or some kind of verbal combat with somebody in order to show that I care. It's also connected. I mean, having it in the 12th house, it might also be tied into self-undoing in my case as well. And since Ceres is also associated with the stomach, I mean, let's say if somebody has this in Sagittarius, it could be somebody that might really, I mean, if they have any stomach issues, it can be perhaps on a grand scale, or maybe eating in a way that's very reckless and even foolhardy. Sadly, the late great legendary singer Karen Carpenter, I had looked at her chart the other day and I pulled up where Ceres was located in her natal chart, and she had it sadly in her 6th house of health in her natal chart. And she had that was some kind of anorexic or bulimic issue or what have you, something like. And given again that Ceres can be associated with the stomach and the eating, and the 6th house is of course associated with health issues, so it's not shocking she had this in her 6th house in Sagittarius. And having it in Sagittarius, of course, and I believe it was intercepted as well, so that even caused that even that made it difficult, more exasperating to deal with. It gives, when you're talking about, when you have placements that are intercepted, they can have a little bit more tension and add a little bit more exasperation to it. And I wonder if maybe having it intercepted in our chart might have exacerbated things and put this on a bigger level. But having it in Sagittarius, of course, that could have played a role in putting this on a grand scale for her. And she didn't have her natal Ceres that far from her Chiron. May not be seen as a conjunction in astrology, but even if something 7 degree, you have an asteroid 7 degrees away from a dwarf planet, I don't think we can definitively say that it doesn't pick up any vibration. So I think the Chiron, fairly close proximity to her Ceres, might have played some role in some greater suffering and wounds in it. And especially, she had other indicators in the chart as well. She also had Pluto conjunct the moon in Leo. So in right there, that could be a death that can be somehow tied in to some kind of eating or stomach disorder or issue. And being in Leo, of course, this was something that was very publicized and sadly gave notoriety for a negative reason. It was, that to me, anyway. But going back to Ceres, another thing to do, of course, when you're looking at Ceres in astrology, I mean, look and see what aspects it makes, because, of course, that could, as far as impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, mine, in my chart, mine makes a fairly tight opposition to my natal Jupiter. So, of course, you have that these two energies adversarial. I have Ceres and Aries in the 12th house, making an opposition to my Jupiter in my 6th house, Jupiter in Libra. So the way that may manifest with me, that could indicate that perhaps there may be some self-esteem issues, which could of course be connected with Ceres, might be due to maybe losing some kind of battles. That's Aries. And then, of course, that's opposing, and maybe, and it could even be battles which might be tied into secret sorrows, and maybe something that I keep hidden. That's opposing the Jupiter, which is about expansion, and then in Libra, relationships in the daily routine. So basically, what it could come down to, it could be some kind of wallowing, some kind of self-pity going on with me, sadly, that might be opposing this exuberance or this expansion of relationships in my daily routine, might be somehow playing a role in conflicting, and as far because it's opposing that Jupiter in Libra 6th house energy as far as expanding perhaps my relationships in my daily routine, and maybe I've become too engrossed in that energy, sadly, from Ceres. And also too, I have Ceres also conjunct my Juno in my natal chart. So sadly, it's almost like I'm that energy. It's like an indelible fixture to me. That Ceres in the 12th house. It might figure more prominently with me because I do have the conjunction to Juno. And Juno, when you have a conjunction to it, it can show what we could be figuratively married to. If you have some energy that's conjuncted, you may be figuratively married to that energy. It might be like an indelible fixture. So really, but anyway, people, that pretty much, that's going to conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take on Ceres in astrology. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.